Hello, welcome back to Everyman Prepping. And before we get into the article from the USDA about persistent food inflation and what they predict for the upcoming year, we're going to go into a little bit of good news about the amount of wheat being planted, according to USDA, in the United States. And then also we'll talk about what's going to go on in Ukraine and their amount of food production. And before we get into all that, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Appreciate all the help you guys are giving me. Spread the word about this channel. And I'd love to see your comments and respond to them about what you think, either about what we're talking about or, just, how things are going for you and your prepping. So as we continue on here, we see that, now when I blew this up from Successful Farming, so you could read it on the screen, it kind of cuts off the title for some reason. But it says our growers are expected to boost the amount of acres of wheat being grown, and basically because prices are going up, which I wouldn't blame them. So it says here that, this was about a week ago, this article, and so the prices are from a week ago, but it was about $9.10 a bushel for wheat, and growers saying they will sow the largest amount of land to wheat in 7 years, enough to bump production by 17%. Well, that's great. We need more wheat because, as we'll see in a little bit here, Ukraine is going to be down a lot in their wheat, and they produce a lot of wheat over there for Europe, Africa, and all that over there. So it's good that U.S. farmers are trying to make it up some. Now, are they doing it to make more money because the war's causing the price to go up? Yes, they are, but hey, more power to them. If they're, two birds with one stone, they can make more money and produce more food. That's great. So this is the largest seeding since 2016, the amount of acres of wheat going in. Now this, one thing I want to say is this is the amount of, acres being planted, which of course is not going to equate to the amount of, what's being harvested. We know we had that huge ice storm, the, cold storm that came in, the Arctic blast. It really hit the red winter wheat that went in. We'll see how that impacts it, but there's more plantings of wheat coming up. There's summer red winter, summer white, all that stuff coming up, spring wheat. So that'll hopefully be replaced, but we'll see. Now it says market prices are high for wheat at the same time that profit margins for corn and soybean are squeezed by rising input costs. Said the magazine. That's Farm Futures. They're the one that came up with these numbers. So, as, the inputs are, fertilizer, water, electricity, diesel, work the tractors. As all that goes up, corn and soybean, it costs the farmers a lot more to make than wheat. So there's going to switch to wheat to make more money. And it said here, wheat sowings have been in decline for decades since the cresting at 88.25 million acres in 1981. But we're gonna do about 50.1 million acres. So down a lot from the high ever, but up more than in previous years, which is good news. Hopefully we get more wheat out of it, and it can help the world out. So then we get to this article, and like it says, what will Ukraine look like for their production in 2023? And it's a pretty long article here, and they talk about financing and other stuff, but I want to get into more of just going into the direct inputs affecting the farmers, not just the the financing of the farmers, the blackouts, the war, all that stuff. But it does say here, the import of agricultural machinery to Ukraine decreased by 1/3. So if they can't get machinery in, farm repair equipment, farm tools, yeah, their production is going to go down. And we're going to see the huge numbers here. When we get to them here, you'll see. So it says experts forecast a decrease in the use of fertilizers over there, nitrate, from 3 to 47%. So if it's 47%, that's huge. Phosphates, 51 to 100%. Potassium, 41 to 100%. So we got a couple 100% reduction. That's like they're not using any at all. They're just not going to fertilize. They're going to plant and hope for the best. And it says depending on the crop, which crop are they going to fertilize, which ones they're not. This says this in turn will lead to an average drop of 20 to 50% in yield. That's huge. So not a lot is going to come out of Ukraine this year. It's going to be less than last year even. And let's go to like a roundup here where it says, considering a 50 to 60% decrease in fertilizer application, significant unharvested areas of cornfields, the lack of financing, blackouts, the need for significant decrease of inputs, overall yields are going to go down 10 to 30%. That's pretty huge. That's really big. And it continues to go on here that says that one thing that is going up is the oil crops. Oilseed crops are actually going to expand. So not looking good for Ukraine, looking good for the United States. Maybe we can, cover some of that loss from Ukraine. Now let's get into this persistent inflation here in the United States for 2023. Let's see, this is about from a week ago, and it's got some USDA numbers here, some economists in the USDA. I'm always cautious about the USDA. Let me say that right now, because like I said before, in other ones, when they give their yield reports and their crop reports, they like to calm the markets. They don't want to, stir any trouble with the population or in the financials with the traders. So we always take what they say with a grain of salt. Let's see what these economists say. With what their economists are saying, I think they're trying to calm you. So I think it's actually going to be worse because they're not out there to scare the population, really. They're trying to calm the population. So let's get into what they say. This says the 9.9% food inflation rate of 2022 will be followed by a 7.1% rate this year, the highest rates in 3 decades, said the USDA. So they're saying it's going to, according to USDA, it's going to be inflation is going to be higher, 7.1. I think, obviously we know it's more than that. Like I said, they're trying to calm the population, so bank ought to be more than that. Egg prices were forecast to rise 27% this year, on top of 32% last year. Okay, that's a ton. And let's take a little segue on this egg thing here. Lately, you've probably seen on other channels on the news that a lot of people are saying their eggs are, producing no eggs from their chickens. No eggs are coming out of the chickens. They've always had eggs in the winter, and now they're getting none. And everybody's bringing up this feed, commercial feed. Do I know if it's the commercial feed or not? I don't know. My chickens are still laying. I buy an organic feed, and they haven't stopped. But people say they get stuff from other, I think it was Tractor Supply, some other ones, and that they've stopped producing eggs. One thing I caution people is chickens always slow down in the winter for egg production. The daylight hours decrease. The amount of egg production from a chickens is based on daylight. The more daylight they have, the more eggs they produce. Also, your chickens might be molting right now, and so they won't produce eggs while they're molting. But if you've always had chickens and they're not molting, they're done molting, and you're doing the food and they're not making eggs, switch it up. I've heard people go to an organic one for a while. You're going to need like a week or two with the new feed to see if it makes a difference. A lot of people are doing goat feed, other types of feed, other types of seed. Switch it up. Something natural. See if you can let them free range a little bit. If they start cracking out eggs, maybe there's something to it. I'm still trying to gather information. I don't know if there's something to it or not, but if your chickens have stopped, hey, switch up the feed and see if it starts, and don't go back to the other feed. So let's get back to what we're talking. Part of this thing about the eggs thing again, one last thing is some news stories, some medical stories have come out saying eating eggs has done a lot to keep people getting sick from the vid. So, supposedly the spike protein doesn't attach as well to people eating a lot of eggs. I don't have anything to back that up, or a story I just read really quick. I'm trying to research it more, but, they trying to stop people from eating eggs, so this can affect them more. No idea. But if your chickens aren't laying, switch up their food, give it 1 or 2 weeks, see if they start producing, and, make your decision from there. All right, going on here. This says here, prices are expected to continue increasing for 8 additional food categories that experienced growth in 2022. Fats and oils are forecast to climb 16.5%, cereal and bakery products 12%, sugars and sweets 10.6%. It says overall the increase of 7.1% food prices to an 8% for groceries is a steep step upward by USDA economists. It says a month ago, the USDA said all-in food increase will likely be 4% in 2023. So 7 to 8% is a lot more than that. And like I said, if they're trying to butter you up and make you calm, that means it's going to be a lot higher throughout the year. So get ready for that. And it says here, the USDA forecast that prices would fall this year for 3 categories of food. I don't know, I'm sure about this, but they're saying beef, pork, and fresh fruit. I don't know why, if the feed to feed the beef and pork is going up, the cost of utilities, labor. I don't know how beef and pork is going to be cheaper. I don't know where they're coming up with that. I don't see a glut. I don't know. I don't believe that. Fresh fruit, is that because people are going to more canned goods? People are not spending money. They're spending money on staples only, flours, wheats, meats, vegetables, that they're not eating the fresh fruit, so it's going to go down in price because the demand is lower. I don't know, but I find that one interesting as well. And then lastly, it says from the article here, meanwhile, 2 agricultural economists said market prices for food crops and animals have increased faster in the past 2 decades than the rise in consumer food prices. This suggests that farm prices are unlikely to moderate U.S. food inflation in the future. So they said that farm prices, the price that farmers pay to grow these things or to raise the livestock, we're usually didn't go up as high as consumers. They lagged, so they helped calm inflation. Well, they're going up higher than the consumer inflation prices. That's a bad sign. So what do you do with this information? Well, this is the time of year. It's February. Spring's a couple months away. You got to start planning. So what are you going to do? You're going to start, if you have never had a garden, start one. Get out there and do something. Even if it's a couple potted tomato plants, a potted pepper plant, start slow, start small. If you have a small garden, can you make it bigger? What can you add to it? Can you add a new interesting vegetable to it? Can you add some other staple you like that you buy at the store a lot? See if you can expand it. If you don't have any fruit trees, wouldn't you maybe you could try buying a couple fruit trees or a nut tree? Put it out there, a citrus tree, something out there. Grow a fruit out there. If you have a decent sized garden, maybe you're going to even make it bigger. Maybe you have to take out some grass in your lawn or take out some other landscaping, some shrubs to grow this garden that you don't have or you want to expand into. You might need to do that. Look at that option. Because as you're growing this food and it's starting to come in, you start harvesting, you start seeing what you have, it's going to make it all worthwhile. You're going to see, oh, look at the prices of this tomato. This individual tomato is it's a pound. It's $2-3. This tomato is $2-3. Well, I have a plant out there. I have 2 plants out there that have 10 or 15 on them each. Look at all the money I'm saving. And then you say, well, now I have all this extra. You know what you're going to do? You're going to get into canning. You're going to can those tomatoes and those peppers and eggplants and zucchini and potatoes or whatever else you're growing, green beans and corn. You're going to take your excess and you're going to can it. You're going to get into canning. And then what you're going to do this next winter, the winter of 2023, when you need some food and it's super expensive on the store, you're going to go in your pantry, you're going to pull it off, you're going to open your fresh fruit out of there. It's going to taste better, it's going to be more nutritious, and you're going to know that you grew it yourself and it's better for your family. So start thinking about that spring, summer garden. That's what this news on inflation, this persistent inflation, should spur you. Start looking at seed catalogs. Draw your garden out on paper. Get the Google overhead view of it, or they call Google Earth view, and look at your yard from above. Figure out where you can plant, what you can plant. It doesn't have to be in all one spot. You could spread that garden all over the place. You can put tomato plants in between some of your shrubs. You can do all kinds of creative things. If you're on a patio, get some containers, plant a few. Every little bit helps. Everything that you do yourself is one less thing you're reliant on the grocery store or the government. So please write comments below. What you're doing, what your plans are. What your plans are for the spring garden? What are you going to do? You're going to start a new one? You're going to expand? You're going to modify? You're going to plant some fruit? Just what are you doing? What is your exciting new thing you're going to do to help out for your own food production? Are you going to get chickens? Are you going to get goats? A cow, a goat, sheep, whatever. Maybe everybody's going to try to get chickens this year. Let's do something. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground, head on a swivel.